Welcome to Human Behavior. I changed the course title a little bit because this week we are going to study about us, humans, human behavior. Especially, we are going to study the human mating preferences. It's very exciting, I think, and at the same time, controversial topic. But I like to demonstrate that our own behavior is also shaped by the forces of natural selection. Here's two college students. You know, it's like you in the classroom. They have been in the classroom maybe for a semester, a couple of months. So you know of the other person, each other. You have seen them in the classroom, but haven't really talked to each other. And one students, members of the opposite sex, and approached to you and asked like one of these three questions. It could be male students or it could be a female students asking this question. And I have seen you around campus in the classroom and think you are very attractive, and you are attractive attractive person, and the person asked is also is a nice looking person, and then he asks you, would you like to go out tonight? And how would you answer for this question? Again, you both are attractive person with each other. And the next question is, would you come over to my apartment? And what do you do? What is your answer? And how about this question? Would you go to bed with me? And I sometimes hear all this noise from the classroom here. And that's the answer of you. For the first question, would you go out with me? 56% of female students said yes, and 50% of male students said yes. And they are roughly equal with each other. And the second question, would you come over to my apartment? Only 6% of female students said yes. And whereas, look at this number, 69% of male students said yes. And the third question, would you go to bed with me? None of the female students said yes, whereas 3/4 of male students said yes. This looks to be a totally different responses between the sexes. And why the difference between male and female students for the same question? Is that the fear of pregnancy? The female students might be suffering from the risk of being pregnant, or is it due to the traditions and culture? That's the way you have been trained in the school, or at home, or something else? And this is the one that I'm going to focus in this class. And we think that the human mind, our own mind, like the human body, has been shaped by the natural selection throughout the process of biological evolution. So that our mind has the psychological mechanisms that tend to increase our reproductive success. So we behave in certain way rather than some other ways because that particular behaviors increase our reproductive success. And the conditions for the male and females in terms of the matings are different. And that's why the male and female, the females behave in a different way, answering in a different way. So this is a really familiar slide. You have seen this one for a couple of weeks. The evolutionary theory of sex difference. I explained this this slide when talking about the differences in behavior between males and female bowerbirds in other species. And there's inequalities between the sexes in parental investment and gamete size, so that these two inequalities create biased operational sex ratios. So in one sex, that has the higher potential reproductive rate and can reproduce fast because they are not really tied to rearing offspring. They are a lot more, and then they compete with each other for access to the other sex. And the other sex which has a lower potential reproductive rate, and this sex is usually tied for the parental investment, rearing offspring, and this sex is choose among the other sex. In humans, this is typically the males, and this is typically the females. So, can we apply this same principles to humans? When we have seen it works in animals, can we apply these principles to humans? But humans create all kind of the problems because the peoples in different areas and different cultures and different nations, they are different in culture, educations, and the economic levels. And how can we get the how can you study this psychological mechanism? There is something universal applying to the older cultures. How can you do that? One way of doing the psychology is the cross-cultural study. The idea is that you ask the same questions or study the behavior across all over the world by this the red dots. And in fact, David Burst and his colleagues surveyed the mating preference and mating desires about more than 10,000 people in 37 cultures in all over the world, all different cultures, all different backgrounds, and looking for the commonality. If they have the commonality out of all these cultures, it is something not based on the culture. It is something deeply in human nature. So that's the gist of the cross-cultural study, and this is what their study found. Women and men differed. They differed. Wanted mates who were. So sometimes women and men and women, they have the mates who have some characteristics, and they basically the same between males and females. Women and men, they like to have their mates intelligent and kind, understanding, dependable, and healthy. And another characteristic that both male and females want from their mates is the love. That's the mutual attraction and love, and that's emerged as one of the most valued qualities in a spouse worldwide. And despite these similarities, that's the characteristics both males and females looking for from their mates. They emerged that the women and men differed across the globe on their desire for some qualities. And what are they? And to understand, you have to know the problems that women potentially face in a long-term relationship. One problem is that they have to raise and support the child alone. If their spouse leave you, then the females ended up with their child with you. So they have to raise and support the child alone, and they have to sometimes protect the child and herself. And they like to have some healthy offspring. That's the potential reproductive challenges the women may face. Then how do we have some psychological mechanism to find some preferred the spouse? So because of these potential reproductive challenges women may face, they're looking for some valued characters from their spouse, and which is, the first characteristic, the female may preference is the financial support. Again, again, the females may left alone. If they left alone, they have to they have to raise them themselves and child, which could be a big challenge. So what they're looking for is that they have some financial support from the mate. So that's the study from like Japan, Yugoslavia, and USA. And this solid bar represented the women's response that the financial support is indispensable, and this this shaded bar represent the financial support is indispensable. And which culture you look at, the women's significantly more than men, they desired good financial prospects. Always the black bar is higher than the shaded bar. And the second characteristic of female male preference is social status. Social status. So the researchers did an experiment like this one. They first grouped males into two different groups. One is like a handsome guy, and the other is like a homely looking guy, like a normal regular guy. And then each group was put into one of three costumes. One is like a doctor uniform, and like a teacher uniform, which represents like some middle class. And the third uniform is like a waiter. It's like a low class guys. And women's preferred the high class homely guys. You know, the women's prefers the high status guys, even if they looking homely, over the medium or the low status handsome guys. The women's valued the social status a lot more than the physical appearance. And the third characteristic of the female male preference, which is the physical strength. The women's prefer like a tall, physically strong, and athletic man here. So when they have a preference between the height of their spouse, women's always looking for the taller spouse. That's the ask the women and men. What do you think that you should be taller, or your spouse should be taller? The woman's response was always like, is usually the man should be taller here. And this study is also done in Britain and Chinese. It's almost the same response. And this study demonstrates the women prefer the guys with the tall guys and physically strong and athletic guys. And the fourth characteristic of the female male preference, that's the age. In Western cultures and in our own cultures too, the incomes generally increase with age. You're becoming older, you earn more. So the women, they usually prefer the guys with slightly older than they are. So that's the differential. The women's response, how much older you liked for your spouse. Then the black is the women's response. They always have about like 3 to 4 or 4 years older than they are. Whereas the males, they like to have the their spouse younger than they are. And the fifth characteristic that the female is looking for is the ambitiousness and industriousness. You know, it's not something that like a money or the physical strength. It's more like their behavior. The women rate these characteristics very high. You know, hard work proves to be one of the best predictors of for future success. So if you see the men ambitious and diligent, they value these characteristics a lot. And ambitiousness, industriousness signal the ability to acquire resources in the present and future. So all these. Now finally, the sixth condition for the female male preferences is a love, and this condition is different from all the others. From the first through the 5, it's like resources. How much resources the males have, but that's not enough. The resources should be directed to the females. And how do you know that? That's the love. That's the cue to willingness to commit the resources to females. So love may be a key cue to the commitments, and being in love is most highly valued characteristics. And all these conditions for the female male preferences can be translated into these two. The first is the dependability and stability, and the good financial prospects, and like social status, or all the industrious, the diligent behaviors. It signals some reliable, and all these conditions are reliable signals that resources will be provided consistently over time. And the other condition is the love, and these resources should be directed to the females, and that's that could be demonstrated by the love. That's the willingness to commit resources to females. How about the males? That's then to understand the mating preferences of males, and you have to understand the reproductive challenges for the man, and these are the problems that the men potentially face when they make a mate choice. The first one is selecting a mate with a high reproductive value, and the second is that selecting a faithful mate. That's and this particular problem occurs in males because the paternity uncertainty, and that's because if there is a boy, women know for sure it's your own baby, but the man's never sure it's your own baby. And these days, and these problems may be more or less resolved because of the DNA test. But again, all these behaviors, all these psychological mechanisms has been evolved long before when we humans have evolved, so that we have been inherited all these psychological mechanisms. So we have to, when we study this one, we have to study imagine the conditions, what our ancestors have lived. That's back in the when humans evolved in the first time. So the first mate preference for the males, high reproductive value. And then the reproductive value means that the number of children a woman of a given age is likely to reproduce in the future. And that's the expected future reproduction of a woman. And there's another terminology that is very similar, which is the fertility, which is more commonly used in society. That's the current ability to produce children. So a very young woman, like a 13 or 14 years, the reproductive value is really high. In the future, she will have, there's potential to reproduce a lot of children. But fertility is low because of the age. She is very young, so that fertility may be very low. Older woman, she may be fertile. She can produce children right now, but her future reproductive, the chance is fewer, so that her reproductive value is low. So when you when you do the reproductive value against the age, it peaks around 18, it goes down all the way down. So it's always go down. So the younger is the higher in terms of the reproductive value, and males prefer the high reproductive value, meaning that the younger ages. So one characteristics of the male's value for the potential mates is the younger ages. So and that's the advertisement in the newspaper when they are looking for their mates. The males always looking for their partners younger than they are. 0 is their own age, and then below is that's the age they desired from their mates. And the men always prefer the younger age, and because of this high reproductive value. The another characteristic when a man is looking for is like a waist-hip ratio. That's basically the ratio of the waist circumference to that's the waist circumference to the hip circumference. It's been known as like hourglass shape. Woman with like a 0.7 waist-hip ratio are usually rated as more attractive by men, and you could be 0.7 and 0.8 and 0.9. The waist-to-hip ratio of the man is around 0.9. And the Miss Americas and beauty icons like Marilyn Monroe, even if they have the separated by long time and also come from the different culture, all these Miss Americas and beauty icons have the ratios close to 0.7, even though they have different weights and heights. And that has been remained remarkably the same over the years in Western and also the all other cultures around the world. And what does it mean, the waist-to-hip ratio? Usually this waist-to-hip ratio, this low waist-hip ratio is correlated with fertility here. And this one, this bar represents like around 0.7 waist-hip ratio, and all the others are higher waist-hip ratios of 0.8 or higher. And that's the y-axis. The salivary estradiol is more like the level of the estrogen, the women hormone. The level of estrogen was related to the low WHR, and if you have like some tiny difference between 0.7 and 0.7 higher waist-to-hip ratios, but this much difference translates into the about threefold increase in the probability of conception. If you have a narrower, so if you have like 0.7 waist-to-hip ratio, then you have over 3 times more likely to conceive than the woman with higher WHR. So the low WHR, which is about 0.7, is correlated with the fertility, and men preferred the women with the low WHR. And another also the physical characteristics, the males prefer like a full lips and small noses, large breast and low WHR and intermediate weight, and almost all of these characteristics related to some developmental homeostasis, and good health and strong immune systems, high estrogen levels and youthfulness, and which all translate into the fertility. So that all these physical characteristics the men usually prefer, and that can be translated into the fertility. So that the males prefer the male's preference basically summarized into the high reproductive rate and a good fertility. And second, I gave the potential reproductive problems men can face. One of is the high reproductive rate, and the other one is the paternity uncertainty. Man never knows whether their own children have the DNAs of their own, so that the preference for the sexual fidelity may be some partial solution to the problems of paternity uncertainty. And men place a premium on sexual fidelity within a marriage, and the faithfulness and sexual loyalty are the most valued traits in a long-term partner for the man. And unfaithfulness is rated as the least desirable characteristics in a long-term partner. And for the man, the sexual infidelity rated as the worst pain that could be inflicting in a relationship. So sexual cheating, that could be a ground for the divorce in a lot of cultures and can lead to the domestic violence. So the second conditions for the male mate preference is the sexual fidelity. So we have a look at the males and female mate preferences, and even though there are some commonalities between males and females, there are some characteristics that are totally different between the males and females, and that's because the potential reproductive challenges facing male and females are differ between the sexes, and that's why the males and females have some different mate preferences. Again, human behaviors, human psychological mechanism is not a blank state in which you can write whatever you weigh. You can train whatever you weigh. That has been written in a lot of ways, so that all these psychological mechanisms tend to increase the individual reproductive success, and has been developed in a long time ago. So our mind like our own body has been shaped, the forces of natural selection, that is the increasing reproductive sex, and that's exactly what we are seeing in our own behavior. Thank you for this. Thank you for during this the whole semester. I hope that you have enjoyed this class throughout this semester, and I just want to stress that the animal behavior is just open field for everybody, and I think it's great because you can just go out and do the study by yourself. Sometimes you don't need any expensive equipment at all. You just go out, go have a field note and good eye of observation, and good ears, and that's what all you need to do the animal behavior. And also, you can tremendously enrich your life simply because it's not just only you living this world. There's you and your friends and all these animals and nature surrounding you. They all live together. And if you have more understanding of how animals behave, then you probably have more appreciation to them. Thank you for this whole semester.